Hello to everyone. I am Elias Chatzitheodoridis. I'm professor of mineralogy petrology at the National Technical University of Athens, and also I am participating in two groups. In one, I am CEO. It is the No-Cell Network, which has to do with the origins of life, research on the origins of life, and the president of Stellar Discoveries Network. This is a Greek mainly network that has to do with space science and technologies. It's the first time I give a talk to totally scientists from a totally another topic, and I made a special effort in order to bring those different topics together with one common ground. This common ground is life, and the term life, and also the praxis of life in this world. So I changed a little bit the title, and I converted to Our Life Span, Birth, Life, Death, Parallelisms at Different Scales. You will see why this title is here. So I will proceed with the next slide. I have to do some disclaimers before I start. I have to say that my knowledge about prenatal period possibly comes only from my subconscious, and I'm never aware when this is done, so I cannot really analyze this in much detail. And this is because actually my studies are in geology, and my research is on life origins through different disciplines. The main ones are under the terms astrobiology and astrochemistry. What I do through these sciences is to investigate the emergence of life as we understand life, the term life, also search for traces of early life on Earth and possibly on other planets of our solar system and exoplanets of other solar systems, and also search for the first organic molecules that form in space, in nebula and around suns. I will explain those topics a little bit more. So the second disclaimer is that this talk is purely from my personal viewpoint, and any opinions and ideas may have appraised by someone else, but I'm not always aware of this. In some cases I do, and I will try to say this. And also it should be noted that my present views and notions about this talk will likely change in the future the more I learn about your science, and the more I think about it. And so I see it as an intellectual exercise. What is common, as I said in the beginning, between me and you is the mystery of life. Why did I come to this question? You see a background picture here in my presentation, which this is a structure, a very peculiar structure, which to us geologists and biologists looks like a cell, a fossilized cell. This fossilized cell was a discovery of mine more than a decade ago, which I analyzed in much detail, mainly because this could be life, extraterrestrial life, life on Mars, because this sample is a meteorite coming from Mars. When I discovered this, immediately I did not think about life, but I searched about it. And the more I learned, the more I was asking to myself questions like, what is life? How did it begin? Can we always recognize it, and how? For example, this background image here, is it really life or not? And what tools do I need and knowledge do I need in order to say this is life or this is not? And also, is there life anywhere else in the universe? A very ancient question that our ancestors always asked this question. So most probably after a long study of this specific structure proved to me that this is not life, but it is a bubble which was formed by crashing an asteroid on planet Mars, and then water was initiated, flow of water was initiated, of hot waters, which created these crystal forms. This was a disappointment, but still I entered a very exciting topic like this. So the next questions actually are based on the definition of life. What is really life? And there are some publications that assemble all the definitions of life, and these exceed the number 100. But the most common ones are NASA's definition, which states that life is a self-sustaining chemical system capable of Darwinian evolution. In this definition, I don't like so much the term chemical system. I think it's more involved in this, and probably this talk will show you what it is. So, and there is also a an older definition, the biology-based definition, which says life is a quality, I like this word, that distinguishes matter that has biological processes, such as signaling and self-sustaining processes, from that which does not and is defined by the capacity for growth, reaction to stimuli, metabolism, energy transformation, and reproduction. Actually, it's a descriptive term of how living forms really live. So now, if we want to speak about life, we have to understand our universe. And we have to go back to our universe and understand how everything around us, the material world that we see, is evolved. You see here the current theory about the Big Bang, that everything started with a Big Bang, a big explosion, which the James Webb Telescope now will ask questions on this, will question actually this theory. This is what it appears now in the news. So after this Big Bang, there was an inflation for a few only minutes, and this first moments are invisible to us. So at the moment of reaching 13.8 billion years from now, the invisible universe became visible. And this is something that we can observe according to theory, and James Webb is going to do this. So we had a lot of events coming in, like the first atoms have been formed, and then the first galaxies and stars have been formed, and then expansion of the universe begins to accelerate. And at the end, at 4.57 billion years, we have the formation of our solar system. Immediately after the formation of our solar system and the formation of Earth, very quickly, actually, we have the appearance of life. This is about 3.8 billion years ago from today, and possibly a little bit older than this. And I marked here when we are now, the present day, today, and what the future is going to be, which involves more expansion of our universe. So if we look our universe, we will see large-scale cycles like those that I depict here with some pictures. For example, from the left, we start from dust. Then from this dust, we have, because of gravity, we have star formation, which forms from the nebula. Like the left one, the Flame Nebula. This is a picture from Hubble. And when we look, we zoom in into these stars, in some cases, we see a planetary system forming, a star with some planets around it. In the beginning, you have the nebula concentrating in forming dense nebula, dense rings, which then will become dense planets. And in some period after this, we have life, the formation of life, and life explosion. This is a very, very, very short period, as we will see. And then what is the fate of this system is again, this sun that was created becomes a supernova and explodes, and everything comes back to dust. If we want to see it a little bit narrower in time, we have again the nebula, and in this nebula, we have the planetary bodies forming and the solar systems. And then during this period, actually, in the nebula and in the outskirts of the suns, we have the first molecules formed. We start from atoms, of course, but there are some places that some chemistry is going on to form some very simple molecules. Many of them are organic molecules. This is a topic of astrochemistry. And then these organic molecules are the precursors of what we call life. Somewhere here where I have this mark with the question, life's origin, the red eclipse, we have the life's origin, which with the evolution of our planet, for example, here Earth, we have the only evidence for life in our universe, our life here. We have an evolution of life itself in the tree of life, which gave all the bacteria, which gave all the trees, which gave all the fish, which gave us as well. If we go back in the beginning of the origins of life, I have here a picture of Magellan's Nebula, where we really found with telescopes that some organic molecules, simple organic molecules, are formed. But these organic molecules play a significant role in the formation of life and the evolution of it. We call these COMS, from complex organic molecules. They are not that complex, but for space, they are complex. Now, if we come to Earth, on Earth is the only life that we know, okay? And if we have explored Earth a lot, and we know now a lot about life on Earth, life still as we understand it. Where life exists on Earth, not everywhere, it exists only in biosphere, which is an ultrafine veneer on the surface of Earth. So it's the atmosphere, which is 480 kilometers thickness, troposphere is 10 kilometers thickness, and biosphere, which is about 5 kilometers thickness. This is 0.08% of Earth's radius. Okay, which with the time we have expanded this 5 kilometers to 12 kilometers with airplane flights, to 410 kilometers with the installation of the International Space Station. And if we go permanently to Moon, which is our aim right now, we can expand life to 340,000 kilometers, which is the distance of Moon from Earth. So on Earth, the macro scale labs for the origin of life are all these areas that you see here. You see volcanoes, you see hot springs, you see Antarctica, you see asphalt lakes, you see volcanoes, you see rivers, you see caves, you see rocks, you see the mid of ocean, complicated rivers. All these places could be places where life could emerge, because they have all the chemistry that is required for life to experiment. And finally, in one of those or more of those, life is created. If you go to the micro scale, we see here a selection of pictures of minerals in the micro scale, magnified. All these minerals could have or chemical solutions like this white orange jar here, could be places where reactions can easily take place to form more complicated molecules from the molecules we get from the stars. And finally, after this chemistry takes place, in one of those areas, you have the first life forms. We don't know anything about those, we just hypothesize, and we call them LUCA, last universal common ancestor, which is the first organism or organisms, because some people say that they are many. There is theory that there is only one, and then it's called FUCA, first universal common ancestor. But this is a hypothesis here, and this is our target. With astrobiology and astrochemistry, this is our target, to find this original organism and how it is formed, in what environments, and then we can understand how life evolved, and we can know a lot more about also synthesizing life, possibly. So this is the tree of life, oversimplified, because there are thousands of species in each category. Three are the categories: bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. A little bit different one from the other. I will not analyze it, but all of them seem to have a common ancestor, and this is the LUCA. Before LUCA was the chemical evolution, as we explained it already. Suppose that after LUCA, we have life organisms which are making colonies, possibly, and they further continue to their evolution by increasing their complexity. What we know from astrobiology is that life has probably evolved in disequilibrium with the environment, and still we are in disequilibrium with the environment. For example, we don't evaporate in our atmosphere. We keep all the constituents of our body, or the chemistry of our body inside us, under our skin. Then during this evolution, a significant role has been played by great universal events, which taught life to how to change and become better and invent survival mechanisms. One is the Great Oxidation Event, for example, which initiated by the invention of photosynthesis, which produced the oxygen that we breathe now. Before that, we had microorganisms that did not need oxygen. And of course, through 5 large extinctions, life learned really how to survive. And organized complexity and evolution have been possibly the most important mechanisms invented by life, differentiating it from all other universal cycles. There are cycles, as I call them here, that go further, increase the complexity, but in an organized way. And this is the process of evolution of life on Earth. And on the right, you see image representation of the geological time scale, with first rocks on the bottom, first animals, second floor from the bottom, which is the Paleozoic, and then you go to Mesozoic with the big animals, dinosaurs, and we are close to our life today, on the top, going through the ice ages. All these organisms produce societies, especially for humans. Society is something that it's applying to humans, and societies are formed when we start from an individual cell, which goes to multicellular beings, and then to communities or societies, which are spanning out to organized complexities. And you see some pictures of those, for example, people on the top, then these small animals that always live in communities, or mushrooms or bacteria. All of them live in kind of communities, and on the right, you see some fungi, a colony of fungi. So now, all of these, if they work together, especially people, if they work together, they can preserve what we call the miracle of life. And I have a background pictures here that I have synthesized that humans, especially by working together, have made great achievements, like visiting other planets and getting a lot of knowledge, process the knowledge, proceed to interpretations, making new hypotheses, a very complex way of going further and evolving in what we call our cosmos. And now I come closer to you, to this human miracle. And this shows me the evolution of life in 9 months. Here you have the first cell, the egg, that is transformed to a human being. In 9 months, there is a short, relatively period to go from one cell to a multicellular, complicated organism which is going to be so clever, as we say for us proudly, and we can come to this point to talk about those things today. This is impressive. This is really a miracle. And a lot of evolution, past evolution, has learned us how to do this. And further than this, as we say, we are clever because we understand also our limits. We start developing technology in order to expand further our reach. So we do microprocessors, we do rockets, we do exoskeletons, we do robots to go where we cannot, we would not really go. We are not really able to go with our body. And with those tools, we have already reached other solar bodies like the moon, like Mars, like Venus, like comets, asteroids, and the sun itself with current missions, space missions. And not only this, we have passed also the edge of our solar system, the heliopause. These are the Voyagers 1 and 2 that were launched in 1977, and now they are already outside our solar system. The heliopause is actually the end of the place where the sun has an effect. And as you see in the image, the two Voyagers are outside this, which means outside our solar system. And of course, we create additional tools like the James Webb Space Telescope to search for possible life outside, totally outside from our solar system, far away to other solar systems and in the universe, like looking at exoplanets, or even to look at the beginnings of our cosmos, possibly the Big Bang. Prenatal memory is something that you know, and I hope I depicted here correctly. Prenatal science has provisionally shown that we carry a wealth of memories from before our birth, and which significantly affect our lives. This is at least what I learned with discussions with Olga Guni, my friend. And now I will extend this to the cosmic scale. And I will ask those questions because I cannot give you information, direct information, which are surely correct. The only thing I can do here is to ask those questions. So one question is, how much information do we still carry from our cosmic past? And how much our cosmic past affects our today's functionality or behavior, or whatever word is analogous to this. Some probable answers are that the chemistry of the primordial environment is still preserved in our bodies. This is more or less secure answer. The originally invented biochemistry is ancient and similar since life began. This is almost a secure answer. And something that it's also secure answer is that our biological bodies could not escape the thin veneer of Earth's biosphere. We could not go away from our from Earth, from our biosphere, just as we are with our bodies. There are many, many people who try to do extreme sports and jump from airplanes or go deeper into the sea just to expand those limits, but only marginally they can achieve this. And that's why, as we said earlier, humans invented technology which allows us to expand our limits beyond those that our biological bodies withstand. Some further cosmic scale questions are, did the first organisms, and this is for me interesting and also for you, I believe, did the first organisms, for example, the Lucas, live independently or they immediately create colonies? When did they learn to collaborate and finally reach the point to invent full functional bodies? Can a colony or a community be considered a single organism? Not just a cell, it is an organism and life, but maybe a collection of those are really what we call life. Which purpose do colonies or communities serve? Why they are here? Why we are here? Why we come together? Why we talk right now? Evolution and diversification is achieved through complexity. One achievement of this community formation is the evolution and the diversification, to go to be more complicated, to be more clever, and also to be different from each other. And in this way, we might help each other better because everyone has different qualities and everyone does a different job. Like we do different jobs in our community, the same way trees help us do other jobs, animals help us do different jobs, even bacteria help us to survive. So humans in the prenatal stage develop a multitude of different cells in order to develop functional bodies that withstand the three-dimensional host natural environment after their birth. And the same happens to the animals as well. But during this process, we have the invention of the apoptosis, which is a mechanism that gave the possibility, gave those organisms the possibility to shape their body into a functional instrument. That's why we have fingers, that's why we have hands and foot, because some cells decide to die in order to for the organism to have a form. Simpler forms like simple animals or complicated forms like we are. Then both humans and animals came together as individuals to create communities. The humans create communities, the animals create herds, or the single-celled organisms create colonies. In all this process, of course, there are always thieves. We cannot avoid thieves. Parasitic organisms are thieves, actually, and they use the mechanism of downsizing, which is they repel away some of their chemistry. They don't want to use it. They don't want to care about it. But what they do, they stick on other animals or trees, maybe. They attach to them, and either they suck these chemistry for themselves, or they cooperate and they help them go further, like bacteria in our stomachs, good bacteria, or the parasitic organisms like we see on the trees that finally they suck so much chemistry from them that the tree is destroyed, the host is destroyed. Birth and cell division go together. Every cell multiplies and grows multicellular organisms or colonies. We said it already. And these are the conclusions from what we said earlier. And then when they reach the certain size, they proceed to multiply now by giving birth to new multicellular individuals or grow new colonies. So after a point comes, they don't grow in size, but they grow in different different individuals. The cosmic question here is, are the environmental limits, for example, gravity, space availability, or resources availability that preclude us of growing to huge organisms, or there are other reasons? Like, for example, why should you grow when you can diversify and then you can conquer your universe in an easier way, because by the diversification, you have many possibilities to do very different jobs. And this is, we feel it, and that's why we do it. It's not so much the nature, but it is mostly our need to do it. And following all those things, now new theories come, and we speak about the informational universe, the informational universe. Everything in our cosmos is an expression of energy, which is, however, quantized. For example, DNA's C, G, T, A, T, A, G, C repetition. This repetition goes on, and this is a code here, a quantized code. Quantization serves the purpose of representing and transferring structured blocks of information in the material world. This is how, in the material world, this is the tool that in the material world, we can keep information or we can transfer information structured in a very structured way. Computers are doing the same. In our three-dimensional world, structured information is represented with also not only the abstract idea of information, but also you can see it as shape or form, you can see it as symmetry, and you can see it as movement in space. Animal or human transfer of information is through repetitive blocks of information. This is an observation, and recently someone, Richard Dawkins, gave it a name, and this is called memes. These memes are actually genes, virtual genes, that we call them cultural genes, informational genes. This is important to understand because now we leave a little bit the chemistry, or we leave totally the chemistry. The chemistry is a medium in order to go to more spiritual levels at this time. So memes, as they function today, you can see everywhere. For example, language is a meme. The language we speak with our mouth, or we make signaling with our fingers. Fashion is a meme. Everyone tries to follow. One does something and the rest are trying to follow this fashion. Many times you have heard the melody from someone whistling it and you wanted to do, and it's stuck in your mind and you cannot avoid it. Behavior, for example, a child looks how father behaves and does the same. When you say a secret, the secret is never kept a secret. Always it pushes you to say it to someone else. Food styling and food preferences is one of those, or savoir vivre is a meme as well. We try to follow the same rules in order to look alike and like each other. You can see also memes in the inorganic world. In the chemistry, I would say better here. For example, you see minerals, all of them are the same. For example, here you see pyrite minerals, which are the same, cubes, distributed cubes. Or you can see repetitive structures, which chemical structures, which are our polymers like this. And RNA is also a kind of, and DNA also a kind of meme because it has repetitive structures. Fire is one, and it's transferred through electromagnetic waves. electromagnetic transmission, for example, from the antenna to your TV, or if you have two diapasons, for example, and you just make one vibrate, the other, which is exactly the same, will start vibrating as well, because this vibration is deduced from the vibrations of the air between them. And computer viruses could be also some technological memes, or chain emails, you know, surely the chain emails. Mathematical memes could be fractals. Here, for example, you see an image of a fractal, which is the recursive iteration of a very simple formula or algorithm, which takes back the results of the output to make it an input and draw a new point on this picture. So in the beginning, it seems chaotic, random, how the points come, but at the end, you have such an image, which probably is not so chaotic as you see. There is some symmetry. So origin of the memes of the living forms, what is this origin? Actually, it seems that the memes have been created with the invention of animal forms. And they came, these memes came, as we call it, another replicator. As I said earlier, we call it cultural gene or cultural replicator. These are purely informational constructs. They have nothing to do with chemistry. They require, though, a medium to exist and proliferate, and this is the chemical structures, the chemistry, the molecules. And memes are passed from one generation to another generation by forming cliques. As you see it here, cliques are small groups which have the same behavior, and this can be done through formal or informal education. Cliques can be very large or can be very small, through social activities, including also religion, and often, unfortunately, they passed on by force, like very strict laws of a monarch, war, terrorism, etc. So now, sorry for this, but I put everything in many cycles. I call it life cycles. There are many cycles for Earth, on Earth, on life on Earth, but maybe also elsewhere in the universe, which are actually going further, evolve through memes. So memes are actually, after we became individuals and we made those societies, memes are the life cycles which help us survive. So the birth, life, death of a human gives birth to another organism, another individual, which goes again through life, death, and then again the same, and again the same, and you see a very complicated structure on the right. For example, this is just a hypothetical imaginary design of mine, but you see a repetition. This is a meme. And we make a comparison now with other cycles in the universe, like a galaxy rotating, like the planets rotating around the sun, like the convection currents of hot magma inside the Earth, like chemistry and fluids, warm fluids in the middle of the ocean, like the carbon cycle in the atmosphere, how the carbon element cycles between the different media of the surface and under the surface of the Earth, like the electrons. This is not in Bohr's model, like the electrons rotate around the nucleus. And now come the ultimate questions. Are memes, any kind of these memes, a major prerequisite for life and its evolution by keeping order and not chaos? The other question is information flow a driving force for life to exist and cosmos, including us, is the medium? And if it is, which is the ultimate purpose of all this? And then again, do we have the true mental capacity to understand what is life? or we can only practice or experience it? These are questions that I don't have a direct answer, but I will try to express a definition for life, a more dynamic one, with what I said till now. Life is an internally continuing process that reforms us, the ones who live this life, but still we keep being the same. This is like a cloud which changes all the time its form, but still at any instance it is recognized to be a cloud and keeps its properties. So in this respect, it also means that we are timeless and dimensionless. If you in a holistic approach, in an approach that time is there only for observation of this change and not really a property that defines us. And finally, we come to what I call universal vibrations, and all these universal vibrations are the ones that help me define life as something that it's not different than a static wave, than a vibration that is synchronized with a large set of other periodic events in our cosmos. For me, this might constitute a better definition of life, and I hope that I gave you the inspiration to search this also in your sciences, and check it as you do already, quite wisely, and maybe expand this a little bit more by involving such thoughts and to understand the human being. With this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm ready for questions. Thank you very much for the invitation.